Lena sat quietly in the corner of the small military outpost, her large green eyes staring down at the floor. She wrapped her slender arms tightly around her knees, trying to keep warm. The humans around her hurried about, speaking loudly, sometimes, glancing at her with suspicion or irritation. Lena knew why. She was an alien of Raylan. Her species was seen as weak and fragile by most others. Nobody wanted her here. The outpost was on a distant planet, cold and barren. Human soldiers used it as a small defense station, far from their comfortable homes. Life here was tough, and no one was happy about sharing limited resources with an alien like Lena. She overheard soldiers whispering behind her back, complaining about wasting supplies on someone useless. It hurt, but Lena stayed silent. She had nowhere else to go. Suddenly, Lena felt dizzy. The room began to spin, and she placed her head between her knees, breathing deeply. Her body felt heavy and weak. She had not eaten properly for days, too. Afraid to approach the dining hall, where soldiers openly disliked her presence. "Hey, are you all right?" a gentle voice suddenly asked. Lena slowly lifted her head, her vision blurred. In front of her stood Dylan, the medic. Unlike the others, his face was kind and concerned. Lena hesitated, but his warm brown eyes urged her to speak. "I feel sick," she whispered softly, afraid that others might hear her complain and judge her even more harshly. Dylan knelt beside her, quickly checking her pulse. His touch was careful and respectful, different from the harsh and dismissive attitude she had encountered. "You're very weak," Dylan said with a serious expression. "Have you been eating?" Lena shook her head, her pale cheeks turning even lighter. "I didn't want trouble," she said softly. "That's not right," Dylan replied firmly. "You need food and rest. Come with me." Lena hesitated again, worried about the angry looks they might get, but Dylan gently helped her to her feet. She leaned heavily against him, barely able to support herself. Soldiers watched silently, some shaking their heads, others glaring, but Dylan ignored them all. He guided Lena carefully toward the medical room, a small space filled with equipment, and a bed. Once inside, Dylan helped Lena onto the bed, checking her temperature and blood pressure. He frowned as he realized how serious her condition had become. She was dangerously malnourished. "I'll get you some food," Dylan promised, his voice gentle and soothing. "You must rest here. You're safe now." Lena's eyes filled with tears, not from sadness, but from gratitude. For the first time since she arrived at the outpost, she felt kindness. Dylan returned quickly with a tray containing warm soup and bread. Lena hesitated, looking at the food, but Dylan nodded encouragingly. "Please eat," he said softly. "You'll feel stronger soon." Slowly, Lena began to eat, savoring each bite. Dylan stayed nearby, making notes on a medical chart, occasionally glancing over to ensure she was all right. After she finished, Lena felt a bit stronger, though still weak. She lay back, closing her eyes, relieved to be in a safe space. "Why are you helping me?" Lena finally asked softly, opening her eyes to look at Dylan. Her voice trembled slightly, afraid of what answer might come. "Because it's the right thing to do," Dylan replied simply, smiling warmly at her. "You're here, you're in need, and I can help. That's enough for me." Lena felt warmth flood her heart. Dylan's kindness made her feel valued, a sensation she hadn't experienced for a long time. She nodded slowly, believing him. They sat quietly together, comfortable in their newfound understanding. Outside the medical room, whispers and mutters continued. Some soldiers complained loudly about Dylan wasting time and supplies on an alien, but Dylan did not care. He knew that Lena deserved kindness and care just as much as any human. She was alone and vulnerable, and he would not let prejudice prevent him from helping. Night fell over the cold, barren planet. Lena drifted into a peaceful sleep, safe in the medic's room. Dylan watched over her carefully, determined to help her regain her strength and dignity. Lena had found an ally, someone who saw past differences and prejudice, someone willing to protect her when no one else would. The outpost was harsh and unforgiving, but now Lena had hope. She was not completely alone anymore. Dylan had given her strength, not just physically, but emotionally too. For the first time, Lena felt like she could face whatever came next. Over the next few days, Lena slowly recovered in the medic's small room. Dylan was careful and attentive, checking her health regularly and bringing her nutritious meals. Lena's strength gradually improved, though she remained hesitant about leaving the safety of the medical room. She was worried about the judgmental stares and harsh words from the other soldiers. One morning, as Lena sat quietly reading a tablet Dylan had lent her, she noticed Dylan frowning at a medical device. "Is something wrong?" she asked, her voice quiet and careful. Dylan sighed deeply and turned to face her. "Your health is improving, but your physiology, your body, is different from ours. I'm trying to learn as much as I can about your species, but information is very limited." Lena lowered the tablet, thinking carefully. She felt safer around Dylan and wanted to help him understand her species better. "Maybe I can help," she offered hesitantly. "I could tell you about the Vrelin and how our bodies work." Dylan smiled, warmly, relief visible in his eyes. "That would be very helpful," he said kindly. Together, Lena explained important details about Vrelin biology. She described how her people absorb nutrients, their vulnerability to cold, and their sensitivities to certain chemicals humans commonly used. Dylan took careful notes, occasionally asking gentle questions. The conversation made Lena feel useful and valued. Days turned into weeks, and the relationship between Lena and Dylan grew stronger. Lena became comfortable enough to occasionally venture outside the medical room, though she stayed close to Dylan's side. Some soldiers watched curiously, their attitudes slowly shifting from hostility to wary curiosity. They began to see Lena not just as an alien burden, but as someone who was gentle and intelligent. One evening, a distress alarm suddenly blared throughout the outpost. Soldiers scrambled, preparing for trouble. Lena's heart raced as Dylan quickly packed medical supplies. "What's happening?" Lena asked anxiously. "Enemy forces," Dylan explained hurriedly. "Stay close to me. It's going to be dangerous." Explosions shook the small outpost as enemy attackers launched their assault. Soldiers shouted orders, and chaos spread quickly. Lena tried to keep calm, staying right beside Dylan as they moved. Carefully through the shaking corridors, they reached a sheltered area where injured soldiers were being brought. Dylan immediately began treating wounds, his hands steady despite the surrounding chaos. Lena watched in admiration, feeling a strong urge to help. "Can I assist?" Lena asked timidly, stepping closer to Dylan. Dylan nodded without hesitation. "Yes, please. Hand me those bandages and disinfectants." Lena quickly followed his instructions, organizing medical supplies and handing items as needed. She was careful and precise, her presence calming to some of the wounded soldiers. Her quiet determination impressed Dylan and the others around her. Hours passed as the battle continued. Lena never left Dylan's side, working tirelessly. Despite her own exhaustion, she remained strong, determined to help those who needed it. Finally, the attackers retreated, leaving the outpost damaged but secure. In the aftermath, Lena and Dylan sat side by side, resting briefly. Lena glanced around at the tired soldiers who now regarded her with something new respect. "You were very brave," Dylan said softly, looking at Lena with gratitude. "I only did what I could," Lena replied humbly. "You taught me that helping others matters more than anything else." Soldiers began approaching Lena cautiously, expressing thanks for her assistance. Lena was surprised but deeply moved by their changed attitudes. She had earned their respect through kindness, bravery, and hard work. That night, as the outpost slowly settled into recovery, Lena felt a new sense of belonging. Dylan had supported her when no one else would, and now his kindness had spread. The hostile attitudes that once isolated Lena had softened, replaced by growing acceptance. As Lena lay down to rest in the quiet of Dylan's medical room, she felt warmth in her heart. She was no longer just an alien outsider. She was becoming part of something important. Something she had longed for. She was becoming part of their community. Dylan checked on her briefly before leaving for his duties, offering one more gentle smile. "Sleep well, Lena. You've earned it," he said softly. Lena closed her eyes, smiling peacefully. She knew challenges still awaited, but now she faced them with confidence. Dylan's unwavering support had shown her the power of compassion, and she vowed silently to carry that strength forward, no matter what the future held. The days following the enemy attack were challenging for everyone at the outpost. Repairs were necessary, and resources were limited. Lena felt stronger, and with Dylan's encouragement, she began helping more actively with the recovery efforts. Morning, as Lena carefully arranged medical supplies, she heard a group of soldiers arguing loudly nearby. She paused, curious and concerned. Dylan was already there, trying to calm the situation. "She's dangerous. We can't trust her," argued a soldier named Jake, his face flushed with anger. "She saved lives," Dylan replied calmly. "Lena helped during the attack. She's earned our trust." "She might have helped," Jake insisted, "but how do we know she didn't help the enemy too?" Lena felt a stab of pain in her heart at the accusation. She wanted to hide, but something inside her resisted. She walked quietly to Dylan's side, facing the soldiers bravely. "I would never betray anyone here," Lena said softly but firmly. "This outpost is my home now. I want to help, not harm." The soldiers looked uncertain, shifting their feet uncomfortably. Dylan gently placed a reassuring hand on Lena's shoulder. "Give her a chance," Dylan urged. "We need to trust each other, especially now." Slowly, the soldiers nodded, still unsure but willing to accept Dylan's judgment. Lena felt relief flood her heart, grateful again for Dylan's unwavering support. Later, Lena and Dylan worked side by side, organizing medical kits and repairing equipment. Lena appreciated the steady rhythm of work and the comfort of Dylan's quiet presence. "You're brave," Dylan told her, smiling warmly. "You faced them honestly. That takes courage." "Only because you were there," Lena replied softly, looking down shyly. Their peaceful moment was suddenly disrupted by loud alarms echoing through the outpost once again. Soldiers quickly moved into action, tense and alert. Dylan and Lena exchanged worried glances, then swiftly gathered medical supplies. Ready to respond, a damaged scout ship landed roughly outside, its engines sparking dangerously. Soldiers ran toward it, weapons ready. The hatch opened, revealing two severely injured human scouts, barely conscious. "Quick! Bring them to medical!" Dylan shouted, taking immediate command. Lena assisted without hesitation, her movements swift and efficient. Inside the medical room, Lena helped Dylan stabilize the scouts. She followed every instruction precisely, her small hands deftly handling equipment and medicine. Despite the urgency, Lena felt a strong sense of purpose. She was finally useful and respected. Hours later, the scouts were stable but weak. Dylan rested briefly, exhausted yet satisfied. "We did good," Dylan whispered, smiling at Lena with admiration. "You did amazing work today." "We," Lena corrected softly, smiling back shyly. "We worked together." Word spread quickly about Lena's role in saving the scouts. Soldiers began acknowledging her openly, greeting her warmly, and thanking her sincerely. Lena felt her heart fill with happiness as the outpost became friendlier, gradually overcoming their initial distrust. One evening, Lena and Dylan sat outside, watching the distant stars glitter in the clear night sky. The cold was intense, but Lena felt warm inside, comforted by her friendship with Dylan. "It's beautiful, isn't it?" Lena said quietly, her eyes fixed on the stars. "It is," Dylan agreed softly, his voice gentle and reflective. "It reminds me that there's hope, even when things seem difficult." Lena nodded thoughtfully, feeling deeply grateful for the human medic who had saved her life and given her a chance. Without him, she might never have found her place at the outpost. "Thank you," Lena whispered, her voice almost lost in the wind. Dylan turned toward her, his expression curious and warm. For what? For believing in me, Lena answered, her voice filled with emotion. No one else did. You changed my life. Dylan smiled, clearly moved by her words. You changed mine too, he replied earnestly. You reminded me that kindness and compassion matter more than anything else. Lena's heart felt lighter than ever. Before, they sat quietly, enjoying the peace of the moment, knowing they had each found something truly special. In the days that followed, Lena's contributions to the outpost became increasingly significant. Soldiers relied on her skills and knowledge. She felt accepted and valued in ways she never imagined possible. Lena realized she was no longer alone. Her new family, led by Dylan's unwavering kindness, had shown her the true meaning of strength and unity. Together, they faced the challenges ahead, knowing they were stronger because of each other. As the outpost gradually recovered from the attacks, Lena became an essential member of the small community. Her dedication and skills won respect and friendship from the soldiers. But not everyone was convinced. A small group still held strong, prejudices unwilling to accept her. One morning, Lena walked to the mess hall alongside Dylan, feeling more confident than before. She greeted soldiers warmly, receiving friendly nods in return. As they took their trays of food, she noticed Jake and a few other soldiers staring at her coldly from across the room. Lena tried to ignore them, focusing instead on her conversation with Dylan. Suddenly, a loud voice interrupted the peaceful atmosphere. You really trust her, Dylan? Jake asked sharply, standing abruptly. The mess hall fell silent, soldiers watching closely. I do, Dylan responded calmly, turning toward Jake. She has proven herself time and again. Or maybe she's just good at hiding her true intentions, Jake retorted bitterly. Lena felt hurt and nervous, but Dylan's steady presence gave her strength. She took a deep breath and stepped forward bravely. I understand your doubts, Lena said softly, her voice clear and gentle. But please give me a chance to show you my intentions are good. Jake hesitated, his expression conflicted. Before he could respond, alarms suddenly blared again, startling everyone. An urgent voice crackled through the communication system. Enemy? Ships incoming. Prepare defenses immediately. Soldiers quickly moved into action, scrambling from the mess hall to battle stations. Lena and Dylan exchanged a determined look and hurried toward the medical bay, preparing for the inevitable injuries that would follow. The enemy attack was fierce, explosions shaking the outpost and causing damage to essential systems. As Lena helped Dylan prepare medical supplies, a sudden impact threw them both to the floor. The lights flickered and went out. Power's gone, Dylan said urgently, pulling himself to his feet. We have to get the backup generators running. I can help, Lena offered immediately. I studied your systems. I can fix the power faster. Dylan hesitated only briefly, then nodded in agreement. All right, Lena, but be careful. Lena quickly made her way through darkened corridors, using a small flashlight to guide her steps. The sounds of explosions and shouting surrounded her, but she remained focused. When she reached the generator room, she found Jake already there, frustrated and unable to fix the issue. Jake looked startled and annoyed when he saw Lena approach. What are you doing here? He demanded harshly. I can help, Lena said firmly. Please trust me. Jake hesitated again, clearly torn between suspicion and desperation. Finally, he stepped aside, letting Lena work. Lena quickly assessed the damage. With steady hands, she began reconnecting wires and adjusting controls. Jake watched silently, his suspicion slowly turned into surprise as Lena's skill became clear. Try now, Lena instructed, stepping back from the panel. Jake flipped the switches, and the generator hummed back to life. Lights returned, illuminating the room. Jake stared at Lena with newfound respect. You did it, Jake admitted grudgingly. Thank you. Lena smiled gently, feeling relief wash over her. We need to work together, she said softly. That's the only way we'll survive. Together, they quickly returned to help Dylan. Injured soldiers were being brought in steadily, and the medical bay became filled with urgent activity. Lena worked tirelessly alongside Dylan and Jake, treating wounds and comforting soldiers. Hours later, the enemy withdrew once more, leaving the outpost damaged but still standing. Exhausted, Lena and Dylan sat together, briefly resting. You saved us again, Dylan whispered gratefully. We saved us, Lena corrected gently. Smiling warmly at him, Jake approached them slowly, his expression thoughtful and sincere. I was wrong. About you, Lena, he admitted quietly. You've shown your loyalty clearly. Thank you for everything. Lena felt tears fill her eyes, moved by Jake's honesty and acceptance. Thank you for giving me a chance, she replied softly. From that day forward, Jake became one of Lena's strongest supporters. His change of heart encouraged others who had doubts. Lena's courage and kindness transformed suspicion into friendship, knitting the outpost community closer together. In the evenings that followed, Lena found herself sitting among the soldiers, listening to their stories and sharing her own. The outpost had become a true home, filled with trust and respect. She knew that without Dylan's unwavering support and Jake's eventual acceptance, this transformation might never have happened. As Lena lay down to rest, she felt deeply grateful. Her journey had been difficult, but she now stood surrounded by friends, part of something greater than herself. Life at the outpost gradually returned to normal, even though the threat of further attacks remained. Lena felt more accepted with each passing day. Soldiers who once doubted her now relied on her skills and calm presence. Dylan continued his quiet support, always nearby and ready to offer help. One afternoon, Lena sat in the medical bay, carefully updating patient files. Dylan entered, a concerned expression on his face. He quickly closed the door behind him. What's wrong? Lena asked immediately, sensing trouble. Some supplies are missing, Dylan explained quietly, worry clear in his voice. Medical supplies. Important ones. People think you took them. Lena's heart sank. But I didn't, she said firmly, though her voice trembled slightly. I know, Dylan reassured her gently. But others need proof. Someone is setting you up. Lena's mind raced, fear and sadness mixing inside her. She couldn't understand why anyone would try to harm her now. We need to find out who took them, Dylan suggested. We must clear your name. Lena nodded, determined to face the issue directly. Together, they quietly began investigating. Lena carefully checked the inventory list and security records, while Dylan discreetly asked soldiers about anything suspicious. As days passed, Lena noticed some soldiers avoiding her again. Whispered accusations spread quietly, making her feel isolated once more. The pain returned, but Dylan's unwavering support helped her stay strong. One evening, Lena noticed Jake acting oddly near the supply room. He glanced nervously around, unaware she was watching. Lena felt confused and troubled. She had believed Jake had fully accepted her, but his suspicious behavior made her heart ache. Later, Lena quietly confronted Jake. Jake, do you know anything about the missing supplies? She asked softly, looking straight into his eyes. Jake hesitated, then sighed deeply, looking guilty. I found some supplies hidden near my locker, he admitted, visibly troubled. I thought someone was setting me up. I panicked and hid them again. Lena felt relief wash over her, realizing Jake was innocent. We need to show them to Dylan, Lena said gently. He can help clear both our names. Jake nodded slowly, agreeing to her suggestion. Together, they approached Dylan, explaining the situation carefully. Dylan listened patiently, relieved to have answers. They decided to wait quietly near Jake's locker, hoping to catch the real culprit. Late that night, Lena, Dylan, and Jake waited silently in the shadows. After several tense moments, they saw movement. A soldier named Lucas quietly approaching the locker area. Lena felt shocked and disappointed. Lucas had always seemed friendly and supportive. Lucas nervously opened Jake's locker, clearly intending to move the hidden supplies. Dylan stepped forward quickly. "Lucas, stop!" Dylan commanded firmly. Lucas jumped in surprise, dropping the supplies to the floor. "Why?" Lena asked gently, her voice filled with sadness. "Why blame me?" Lucas looked ashamed and scared. "I didn't want to hurt you, Lena," he explained weakly. "I just wanted everyone to trust me again. After the attacks, people questioned my bravery. I thought if I found stolen supplies, they'd see me as a hero." Dylan shook his head slowly, clearly disappointed but understanding. "Trust isn't gained by deceit," he said softly. "You hurt Lena deeply." "I'm sorry," Lucas whispered sincerely. Looking at Lena, "I never meant to cause harm." Lena stepped forward, gently placing a comforting hand on his shoulder. "I forgive you," she said quietly. "But you need to tell everyone the truth." Lucas nodded, accepting his responsibility. He returned the supplies and confessed openly to the other soldiers. Lena's innocence was immediately recognized, and soldiers who had doubted her approached with heartfelt apologies. Jake stood beside Lena, his respect for her stronger than ever. "You showed real courage again," he said warmly. "You faced suspicion with kindness." Lena smiled gently, feeling grateful for the true friend she'd found. Dylan stood nearby, quietly proud. The incident brought the outpost community closer together. Soldiers began openly praising Lena's bravery and kindness, recognizing how unfairly she had been treated. Lena felt a deeper sense of belonging than ever before. That night, Lena and Dylan stood outside under the clear sky, quietly reflecting. "You never doubted me," Lena whispered, her voice full of gratitude. "I never will," Dylan replied firmly. "You've shown everyone here what it truly means to be brave and kind." Lena smiled, her heart filled with peace. She knew challenges would always come, but now she faced them with friends who truly believed in her. The outpost had become her true home, filled with trust, support, and genuine friendship. After the truth about Lucas came out, the outpost began healing from the recent troubles. Soldiers focused more on unity and trust, making the base stronger. Lena felt truly accepted, grateful for the support she now received. One quiet afternoon, Lena and Dylan were repairing medical equipment when a sudden message came through the communication system. "Emergency distress signal from a nearby ship," the voice announced urgently, requesting immediate medical assistance. Lena and Dylan exchanged quick glances, swiftly gathering necessary supplies. Together, they hurried toward the landing area where a rescue shuttle was preparing to launch. "Be careful," Jake called out, waving supportively as Lena and Dylan boarded the shuttle. The journey was tense but brief. Soon, they saw the damaged ship drifting helplessly in space. It belonged to an alien species known for hostility toward humans, making the mission more dangerous. As the shuttle docked, Lena took a deep breath, steadying her nerves. Dylan offered a reassuring nod, reminding her silently that they faced this together. Inside the damaged ship, chaos reigned. Injured crew members lay scattered, their wounds serious and untreated. Lena immediately moved to help, her calm presence soothing the frightened aliens. Dylan began treating the most critically injured, trusting Lena to handle the others. Lena carefully bandaged wounds, provided medicine, and spoke gently, earning the crew's trust despite their initial suspicion. One of the crew members, severely injured and wary, watched Lena closely. "Why do you help us?" he asked weakly, confusion evident in his voice. "Our people have fought yours many times." Lena smiled softly, meeting his gaze. "Because kindness doesn't choose sides," she explained simply. "Everyone deserves help." Her words seemed to soften the tension. The crew member nodded slowly, understanding her sincerity. As Lena continued working, she overheard another alien crew member speaking urgently. "Our ship's reactor is damaged badly," he explained desperately to Dylan. "If we don't fix it quickly, everyone on board could be lost." Lena moved closer, listening carefully. "I can help," she offered bravely. "I studied ship mechanics during My time at the outpost. The aliens hesitated briefly, but saw the determination in Lena's eyes. They quickly guided her to the reactor room, where alarms flashed urgently. Lena assessed the situation carefully. Her hands trembled slightly, but she knew lives depended on her actions. Remembering all Dylan taught her about staying calm under pressure, she began repairs confidently. Minutes passed, tense and uncertain. Lena worked quickly and precisely, reconnecting circuits and stabilizing the reactor. Sweat beaded on her forehead, but she remained focused. Finally, the alarm ceased, replaced by steady, reassuring sounds. The reactor stabilized, and relief flooded Lena's heart. The aliens watching her work expressed amazement and gratitude. "You saved us," one said sincerely. "You could have let us perish, but you chose compassion. Compassion makes us strong." Lena responded gently. "I learned that from the humans at the outpost." The injured aliens were moved carefully onto the shuttle for transport to the outpost, where they could receive more extensive care. Lena and Dylan stayed by their sides, ensuring their comfort and safety. Back at the outpost, the arrival of the alien crew drew curious attention. Soldiers initially wary of the new arrivals quickly followed Lena's example. Offering help and kindness, Jake approached Lena, smiling proudly. "You showed us all again what true strength looks like," he said warmly. "Thank you, Lena." Lena smiled, gratefully, feeling a deep sense of fulfillment. She realized how far she had come from the frightened, lonely girl who first arrived at the outpost. Now, she stood confident and respected, surrounded by friends and allies. That evening, the alien captain approached Lena, his expression filled with gratitude and respect. "We misjudge humans and those allied with them," he said softly. "Your kindness has changed our views." "We all make mistakes," Lena replied gently. "The important thing is learning and growing from them." The captain nodded thoughtfully, clearly touched by her wisdom. "We will share your story with our people," he promised. "Perhaps your kindness will bring peace." Lena felt warmth spread through her heart. She had hoped to build bridges of understanding. And now it seemed possible. Dylan stood beside Lena, proud and supportive. "You have truly changed things," he whispered. "We did," Lena corrected quietly, looking up into his eyes with gratitude. Together. That night, under the familiar stars, Lena reflected on her journey. She had faced suspicion, isolation, and danger. But through compassion, bravery, and unwavering friendship, she had found acceptance, trust, and purpose. Lena knew her future held challenges, but she faced them now with strength born from kindness and unity. Weeks passed peacefully at the outpost after Lena and Dylan's rescue mission. The bond between the human soldiers and their alien visitors grew stronger each day. Lena felt deeply proud, knowing her actions had played a significant part in building these bridges. One bright morning, a large spacecraft arrived, bearing official representatives from Earth. They came to assess the situation and the progress made at the outpost. Lena felt nervous but determined as the representatives moved through the outpost, inspecting facilities and speaking with the soldiers. Eventually, the officials requested a formal meeting. Lena, Dylan, Jake, and a few senior soldiers attended. Lena sat quietly next to Dylan, her heart racing slightly as the meeting began. The lead representative, a woman named Admiral Harper, spoke first. Her voice was firm but kind. "We've reviewed reports about recent events here. We were initially concerned about housing an alien civilian on such a critical outpost. However, the outcomes have surprised us." Admiral Harper turned her attention directly to Lena, her eyes showing genuine admiration. "Your actions, Lena, have significantly changed our views. You've shown courage, compassion, and wisdom under difficult circumstances. We are truly impressed." Lena felt warmth spread through her chest. She glanced at Dylan, who smiled encouragingly. "Thank you, Admiral," Lena replied quietly, clearly moved. "I am honored to help build trust and understanding." The Admiral nodded approvingly, continuing her speech. "Your work here has inspired. U.S. Earth wants to officially recognize your contributions. We'd like you to become an official ambassador. Lena, you could help bring peace and cooperation between humans and other species. Lena felt her breath catch, shocked and amazed by the offer. Dylan gently squeezed her hand, silently supporting her decision. It would be my greatest honor, Lena answered clearly, her voice filled with determination. Cheers and applause broke out in the room, soldiers smiling warmly and congratulating Lena. Jake proudly clapped her shoulder. You deserve it, he said warmly. You've earned everyone's respect. Later, as evening settled over the outpost, Lena stood quietly outside, gazing at the familiar stars that had witnessed her long journey. Dylan joined her silently, offering a comforting presence. You're thinking deeply, he observed gently. Everything changed so quickly, Lena replied softly. I came here alone and unwanted, afraid and uncertain. Now, I feel connected and strong, but I worry about the challenges ahead. Dylan turned to face her fully, sincerity in his eyes. You won't face those challenges alone. You have us and many more who believe in you. Lena smiled gratefully, feeling secure and supported. You've always been my greatest ally, Dylan, she said softly. Your kindness gave me hope when I needed it most. Dylan's expression softened with warmth. Your courage and compassion inspired me, he replied. You've changed all of us, Lena. The two stood quietly, enjoying the peace of the moment. Around them, soldiers moved about, working together as one community, stronger and more unified than ever before. In the following days, Lena began her new role as ambassador, arranging meetings between Earth officials and representatives from various alien species. Her reputation quickly spread, and leaders from distant planets eagerly agreed to negotiations. Inspired by her story of courage and unity, Lena traveled often, but returned frequently to the outpost, where her closest friends awaited her arrival. Each visit was filled with warmth and shared stories, reminding Lena of her true home and the family she had built. One clear evening, Lena gathered with Dylan, Jake, and others beneath the familiar night sky. She shared stories from her travels, speaking passionately about growing friendships and new alliances. None of this would have happened without each of you, Lena concluded sincerely, looking around at her friends. You taught me that kindness is the strongest force in the universe. Her words resonated deeply, each person recognizing the truth in her statement. Dylan stepped forward, his voice filled with pride. And you taught us that strength comes from unity and understanding. He said warmly, we are all stronger because of you. As the night continued, the group sat together, their bond strong and their spirits high. Lena felt deeply fulfilled, knowing she had found her true purpose. She had transformed prejudice and suspicion into respect and understanding. In the quiet that followed, Lena looked up at the stars once more, grateful for every challenge that had brought her to this moment. Her journey had been long and sometimes painful, but every step had shaped her into someone capable of changing hearts and minds. Surrounded by those she trusted and loved, Lena knew she had finally found her true place. And though the universe was vast and sometimes harsh, Lena faced it now with unwavering confidence, strength, and compassion, never alone again.